Hi all, this is Sean from Time and Talk. So today I wanted to make a video about this watch, and I thought it'd be an interesting video in terms of to think about what vintage watches kind of mean, the history behind them, the story behind them. So this particular one, it's a little Accurist, time only, gold-plated watch from the 60s, and I bought it off eBay, and I actually tried to sell it, funnily enough, and nobody wanted it, so I bought it for about £20-40, something like that. And recently just decided to get another strap, and it looks great, I think. And just to think about what the history of this particular watch is, but also about why vintage watches are so meaningful and why they are so much more evocative, if you like, than a watch that you can just go and buy from John Lewis or H. Samuel or whatever, wherever you are. There'll be different shops. So you can see this, it's a cool watch, but the most interesting probably thing about this watch is the inscription on the back. And you'll see it says, "To Neil with affection from his Eagle sales colleagues and management, 1968. And I imagine this was probably received maybe for a retirement gift or to commemorate a certain number of years in the job that he had. And I imagine this person fought in the Second World War, for example. You would imagine it was a person of a certain age who received this watch, you know, in their 40s maybe, or in their 60s if they were retiring, because it's, you know, it's a special gift. And therefore they probably served in the war, maybe commenced a job straight after the Second World War. In 1948, they probably saw the introduction of the NHS for the very first time in the UK, and were lucky enough to be treated in that institution in its early days. And obviously when this watch was received in 1968, he may have, I'm guessing it was a man, he may have gone home and listened to his favourite song, which may have been and also the year of 1968 witnessed some incredibly important events, the assassination of Martin Luther King, for example. You know, the Beatles were in their heyday. Manchester United became the first ever British club to win the European Cup. And it also attests, this watch, to the way in which employment and the way in which our lives have changed over the past few decades. You know, when you think about receiving a gold watch from your place of work, most of us probably will never spend enough time in a job to receive a watch of this kind, and we certainly won't. I don't think people get these sorts of presents when they retire anymore. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if you have received something like this. And it's interesting in the case of, you know, an Accurist watch. I think Accurist were a British company or American, and obviously Swiss made, but you know, it's not a Rolex. It's a relatively modest watch, as Rolex to a certain extent were back in those days. But you know, it's a nice, solid watch, and it's something that the person can be proud of wearing, particularly since it's from his colleagues and management. And I like to think of the person's life after they received this watch. You know, did they like it? Did they choose it themselves? It saw, you know, the 1970s in Britain and the birth of Thatcherism, and you know, the 1980s with the rise of technology and digital watches. Did this person swap this for a Casio G-Shock when they were first released? And it's all those sorts of interesting things. And I'm not lucky enough to have received a watch from one of my relatives, from my grandfather or my dad or whatever. And you know, you can appreciate the worth of something like this, and it's not just the item, it's not just the commodity. Anything can be sentimentally valuable. And then you get to think, how did this end up in my possession? You know, why did it end up on eBay? Was it just at the bottom of somebody's drawer for a couple of months and a couple of years, maybe decades, and then they decided to sell it, and someone like me, you know, bought it? And you can see it on my wrist here, and You can also see me modelling it a little bit, and I love vintage watches at the moment. And my last video was about Cartier. I'm really getting into small watches, and I've got a small wrist and they look really good on me, I think. Yes, that's just a quick video. I thought it would be interesting to make a video about this sort of thing, and to think, you know, why vintage watches are cool, why we like them. If you've got a particular vintage watch story, hit me in the comments and tell me about it, because I'd be really interested to find out. And if you liked the video, please subscribe, and thanks for watching. Bye bye.